Hey, Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will look at how hypoxia will lead to cause cancer. So basically, the hypoxia will lead to activate the oncogene if the chronic hypoxia will occur. So what is the hypoxia? Hypoxia means the low level of oxygen in the cell, and hypoxemia means the low level of oxygen in the blood. So in this way, basically is the, for example, the lungs disease, which that also lead to cause hypoxemia and hypoxia. On the other hand, our smoking also lead to chronic, basically the chronic smoking will also lead to cause hypoxemia, because the smoking will lead to basically carbon monoxide production due to the incomplete combustion, and that carbon monoxide bind with the hemoglobin attached completely, and in this way that basically it is very stable bond as compared to the carbon dioxide. In this way, the carbon monoxide when bind tightly, which they are not dissociate easily with the hemoglobin, in this way the oxygen association with the hemoglobin will difficult. In this way the hypoxemia will lead to cause hypoxia. On the other hand, a lot more important things that you should need to understand, the sickle cell anemia, and on the other hand the other type of anemia, or the on the other hand the RBC production stop when the basically RBC production problem like the liver disease and the other type of disease, because the basically is the production of the RBC. On the other hand, the bone marrow basically disrupt, or the basically is the cancer in the bone marrow. On the other hand, remember, which that will lead to progress the cancer, but basically we are just understanding about the cancer due to the hypoxia, so important things you should need to understand. On the other hand, the muscle basically contain myoglobin, and if the less myoglobin, so in this way the consumption of the oxygen and trapping of the oxygen with the myoglobin will decrease. Basically, it is due to the also iron deficiency. When iron deficiency will occur, so the lack of the iron will not produce the hemoglobin more, and in this way the rich amount of the hemoglobin will not produce due to the deficiency of the iron chronically will lead to cause cancer also. But sometimes the increase of the iron also cause the many problem, but you should forget about that. Basically the lack of the iron or the low level of the iron in the blood. So smoking, on the other hand, the lungs disease, and a lot more important things, the chronic hypoxia due to the smoking is the major cause. In this way, the cigarette smoking will lead to cause cancer. So basically, in this way, basically your cell will continuously produce the hypoxic inducible factor 1 alpha. It is known as the HIF1 alpha. When it will upregulate, and in this way basically it will lead to anaerobic respiration. It is known as the ancient fermentation. Anaerobic respiration lead to increase the glycolysis, and the lactic acid production is known as the anaerobic respiration to produce more ATP. And on the other hand, the glutamine metabolism in the Krebs cycle of the mitochondria will produce more and more ATP, but the oxidative phosphorylation will decrease. The meaning of that, the oxygen, using of the oxygen to produce more ATP from the electron transport chain will decrease. In this way, our mitochondria also dysfunction, and in this way, this basically the HIF1 alpha when rise, so the rise of the ATP, and that ATP come from the anaerobic fermentation. And in this way, this anaerobic fermentation produce more ATP, and that ATP basically will basically increase the ATP, and in this way the increase the glucose metabolism, and in this way the increase the glucose metabolism will lead to basically inhibit the PGC1 alpha. When the PGC1 alpha will inhibit and also uprise the HIF1 alpha, so HIF1 alpha also trigger that certain type of gene which that is able to proliferate the cell, growth of the cell, because the ancient fermentation. So that is why the low level of oxygen will lead to increase the oncogene activation. We will discuss in the next video how the HIF1 alpha will grow more the body. So in this way, the HIF1 alpha will produce and proliferate and maturation of the cell. Even the cell cycle will increase, and the proliferation and the cell division will increase. Anyhow, the HIF1 alpha will activate the oncogene and trigger the mTOR pathway due to the efficiency of the ATP. In this, the ATP when not down-regulate, so the deficiency of the ATP is responsible for the activation of the PGC1 alpha, and the PGC1 alpha is responsible for the production of mitochondria and health of the mitochondria, even the biogenesis of the mitochondria. While the HIF1 alpha will inhibit the PGC1 alpha due to the uprise the ATP production, and in this way our cell will not sensitive for the deficiency of ATP, and in this way the inhibition of the PGC1 alpha. On the other hand, basically the regulation of the ATP ratio ADP, in this way basically it also inhibit the AMPK pathway. So the AMPK pathway is important for the activation of certain type of gene, which that basically a result of the stress. If the minor stress, so in this way the repairing mechanism will trigger. While on the other hand, important thing you should need to understand, the activation of the DNA basically will lead to trigger the mTOR pathway, because the energy rich condition due to the glucose influx into the cell will lead to mTOR activation. This mTOR is known as the mammalian target of rapamycin. This mammalian target of rapamycin will upregulate, will lead to cause cancer, because the mTOR pathway is leading to cause cancer, survival of the cell, even the damaged mitochondrial cell. So our mitochondria will lead to damage and produce more ATP through anaerobic fermentation, will lead to proliferate and growth of the cell. And in this way, the growth of the cell and proliferate, even the damaged cell, will lead to activate the oncogenes, and in this way, the metastasis will trigger. I hope you make sense about that. If you like my video, please make sure to subscribe, like and share. In this video, we have discussed about how hypoxia basically will lead to cause cancer. Basically, again in summarization, when the smoking will increase the hypoxemia, and hypoxemia will trigger the hypoxia in the cell, and this hypoxia will lead to increase the HIF1 alpha. Chronically, HIF1 alpha will trigger the cell division and proliferation and maturation, even the damaged cell, and not autophagy will occur. In this way, when autophagy will not occur, in this way the cancer will progress. So on the other hand, the other growth factor will also activate due to the HIF1 alpha, which that will lead to basically dysregulation, and in this way even the damaged cell will not recycle, while it will proliferate. Even the further more damage of the DNA will lead to cause cancer. I hope you make sense about that. If you like my video, please make sure to subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. For this time, bye. Allah Hafiz.